Okay, I'll kick this off. Hey everyone, I'm Ivan. I lead ecosystem over at Aragon. We build DAO, well, on-chain governance infrastructure for mostly infrastructure and DeFi projects. And I've also been, building and investing in this space since 2017, working on different business models for CeFi and DeFi projects.
I'm 60. I lead DAO operations at Push Protocol, and I've been working in Web3 part-time, uh, you know, always around since 2021. So I'm not as much as an OG as Ivan, but I've been around my fair share of Web3. I've previously contributed to Index Scoop, Prime DAO, and right now we're building some cool stuff with Push Protocol and Push DAO. So excited to be here. And I don't know
We
if
have
it's
our list.
Tui seems to be frozen.
Okay, maybe we can then just start. Yeah, well, um, I'll start by saying that getting so financial sustainability is like a massive part of sustainability, and there was a period in this space when like trying to make money was frowned upon, was seen as a bad thing, but now hopefully like the industry has matured and people understand like if you want to build something that's going to last 100 years, you cannot run out of money, once the grant that you received for like 20K expires, right? So thinking through sustainable financial models for infrastructure or whatever your organization is building is an early and important consideration to go through. And we can talk about like fundraising. We can talk about like actually making revenue, which is a crazy concept, but it is an important one. We can, and on the revenue side, we can talk about like what works, what doesn't. Yeah, I mean it's a pretty small audience, so looking forward to some feedback on what you guys are interested in as well.
Yeah. Does Chuy want to introduce himself too?
Yep. Thank you. My name is Chuy Garcia. I am community manager for Tapnode, and I'm also part of the core team in Ethereum Mexico. And yeah, sustainability has been a hot topic this year. Actually, we have been running an experiment at Ethereum Mexico with distributed validators, and yeah, it's all about looking for other sources of income that are um, alternative, but at the same time transparent, and um, yeah, well, something that takes pressure off making money with events, because it's a nearly impossible task, and um, so yeah, looking forward to sharing more ideas with the rest of the participants in the panel.
Do you want to maybe start with like going around just when you launch and what you're thinking of when you get started, and then we can maybe move into how to keep things going because now you have a community and more pressures and more perspectives. So maybe we can go around 60 if you want to get started. Like, what are you thinking of when you launch your DAO for sustainability? Maybe Chuy, do you want to go first, and he can.
Yeah.
60. We're gonna let Chuy go first. Maybe we can fiddle with your microphone.
So yeah, I think sometimes in like DAOs have like this weird flow of questions and really weird like processes that are a little bit more. I just find that it very, very interesting that these steps are a little bit more related to like a social process itself rather than like building a company or having like a clear business model. So I think that uh, like the way a DAO can capture value is also a part of the process of discovery itself. So uh, I think it should be like a balance between both. I think that uh, people should find ways in which they are productive collaborating, and that process might give like like a place for these ways to look for different income sources to happen, but in a more organic way. And I feel that every time a DAO encounters this challenge, where this is the question, like what's going to be like our main revenue source, um, I think that always sticking as much as possible to the core values of the technology um, never really goes wrong. Like if whatever you are planning or wrapping your head around of, I think that if it's transparent, if it's immutable, like all of these properties of the blockchain technology that we like, I don't think there's going wrong. Like I think that the worst DAOs have shown in one way or another that they try to get around uh, this part in these values to make things more agile, more just faster, efficient. Um, but yeah, I don't think that replicating traditional structures is something that lasts long, because it's easy to build something that works better. So uh, so yeah, I would say like whatever you encounter in your discovery process with your community, as long as it sticks with the core values of Ethereum, I think um, it'll be fine for your DAO.
Yvonne, I feel like I want to like rub my hands together to prompt you now. Um, so like thinking of starting a DAO, right? And considering the sustainability, like what actually happens and what would you suggest should happen or prefer to happen?
Well, I think it's what actually happens like varies, right? Like one of the most important things to consider is that a DAO is simply a form of organization, right? So there are very different DAOs, right? There are people that are just like gathered here for the vibes, right? And in that case, you don't really need to think about making money and financial sustainability. The point where you need to think about that is if you're in a situation where it's like, okay, like contributors are at a place where they actually need to be compensated for their labor, because it's their contribution is becoming so akin to a full-time job, right? And then the other pivotal moment when, and I mean some of the people in the space are fortunate enough and they don't need to take a salary and they can commit a full-time job to like working basically for free, but like not everyone is like that, and the assumption that everyone can afford to do that is yeah, it's pretty privileged. And then like, so this is one, and then the second one is, am I taking someone else's money, right? Like if I want to fundraise under some promise of like, oh, we're building this, and is this a fundraiser or is this a donation? So those are like the two pivotal moments when the organization and its members should think through think through what are the paths for financial sustainability here. I think what I've seen work typically as form of on-chain revenue is mostly in the service space. So this tags well with usually smaller organizations, but also larger organizations just have like, there is this like open source free software tool that we're building, but if you want something more fancy or specific, we can also build bespoke for you, and that's a paid service, right? There is another path, which is just make people money and shave off a share of the money you make to them, which is how most of DeFi functions, right? Like a lot of the protocols and the products in this industry that are successful and somewhat financially sustainable are within the DeFi space, and it's usually like, you can like mint a US dollar pegged token against providing certain collateral. You pay some interest rate and stability fees, and like the DAO shaves off some small percentage of that. Or you're a lending market, there is a ask whatever, like borrow lend spread. The protocol collects a percentage of that. Chuy spoke about like the value propositions of the technology itself, but I would take it like a notch up, and it's not about the technology itself, it's also about the product, because we have a lot of cool technology, we have very few cool products in this industry that are like a holistic value proposition that someone is willing to pay for. So the TLDR is like, build something people want to pay for. And by pay for, I don't mean get a grant. I mean like someone who's actually paying for usage. That's the product path. And it's not a one size fits all, right? You can be building non-monetizable assets as well.
60, I don't know if you want to elaborate on that, or if you want to also move into considering as the community grows, how you take in the feedback from that community as it grows, and how do you respond? Okay, does Chuy, do you want to respond to that question about as the community grows, how you accept feedback and respond?
Yeah, I'm personally a big fan of Ostrom's principles. I think that they suggest like some really cool ways to signal for signaling this this specific point, and yeah, I loved what Ivan said about the technology, but like complementing the product. I think that if I could add like a third element to that, it would be this kind of I don't want to call it like philosophy, but like some kind of approach from a more like sociological level, because it's it's already very difficult to organize a lot of the information, and like a part of the community will be focused on the product, another part of the community will be focused on providing different tools. So I think that studies and knowledge around Ostrom's principles, and also a lot of the work from David Bollier, I think they can provide great tips on how to properly scale and grow a constantly expanding group, just like a DAO. So yeah, definitely, I would look more into the sociological element of the organization just having a better idea of on what's good, what could be changed.
I have a strong opinion here. I would wager in. The word community is a bit vague. And we got away with it in this industry because it's cool, but it's stakeholders, right? Like the different agents, whether people, organizations, or pieces of code, have different relationships to whatever we are trying to build. So receiving feedback should always be contextual, right? Like is the community member someone who's holding a token that may or may not provide them with some governance power over the organization? Are they a person that just stumbled upon Discord and is looking for a job, or are they a user of whatever we're building? And then depending on that context, we should weigh in their input, right? I would say early on, just be obsessive about listening to users, which is radical, but that's how you build projects and products, right? Like who's the intended recipient of the goods that you're creating, and make sure you take their feedback seriously. As opposed to like you would always have someone jump into Discord or whatever platform you're using to communicate who's going to be like, oh, but like that these guys are doing this better, and it's like, cool, like, are you using my product? If you're not using my product, are you willing to provide like succinct and cohesive feedback of like why you're not using it, like what bugs you, what doesn't work, okay, on the contrary, what works. So I think just trying to be more like trying to listen to everyone, and thinking of more the philosophical, like, oh, everybody's opinion is valuable, is one of the reasons a lot of DAOs fail, right? Because if it's about I don't know how to build a nuclear reactor, my opinion is probably not valuable because I don't know anything about that topic, right? If it's about where do we build it, I have a very strong opinion of not in front of my house, but like on the how, I don't really have a good grounded opinion. So the fact that like everyone's opinion is important as an individual doesn't mean everyone's opinion is important on a specific topic, and you should weigh it equally, right?
I don't know if you guys can hear me this time.
We can hear you. Hooray!
Nice. So I'll keep it just audio in case I break anything. Because yeah, that's as soon as I switched on my video, everything went to shit. And I'm a bit behind on the conversation. I'll go back to the first question, and I'll try to get up to speed with where Ivan and Chuy are. And just a couple of points I want to highlight is yeah, with DAOs, one of the biggest problems I've seen is people start a DAO and they're not sure what they want to achieve with their DAO. And sometimes they might try to imitate models of other DAOs that worked for them, but maybe were not particularly very successful for that DAO. But sort of what incentivizes this behavior is because DAOs and token generation events are something completely unique to Web3, right? Usually in a normal organization, you'd need funding to get started, but in Web3, you have like all this money, you have this, sometimes it's $1 billion treasury to get you started, off, paying people, doing like a bunch of different things. And that is sort of unprecedented in the in the Web2 world, in the traditional world. So it has created, at least when DAOs sort of became popular, it sort of created sort of structure where you have the money first. You have the money first, and you don't really have to think about being sustainable, or have to think about runway up until your token is is down 90%, and you have 10, 20, 50 contributors with who are used to getting like 10K per month salaries. And then now you have to have the difficult conversation on like, how do we become sustainable? So it's yeah, in Web3 we've had to sort of work backwards, where a lot of DAOs start off spending, and then they sort of have to ask themselves like, what is the business we're sort of running here, right? So yeah, just wanted to add my 2 cents to that first conversation, to the first question. And yeah, you guys can go on sort of where.
If you want to keep going, the second part was, once that your community starts to grow, how do you, take in feedback and respond to it?
And yeah, to add to that, I will say that a lot of DAOs lack leadership. I know a lot of us were gravitated towards the Web3 space because we were tired of our bosses. We were tired of getting told what to do, having to report to someone, not, that sort of thing. But one of the things that has in a lot of DAOs, maybe not recently, but maybe 2, 3 years ago, a lot of DAOs didn't have leadership. So it was essentially just different work streams sort of doing different things without any clear unified goal, uh, which is something we have to sort of speak about as as a community, as people working in DAOs, like sort of who is leading what, like who sort of drives the vision of the DAO, because I think it was Ivan or Chuy mentioned, it gets to a point where you have like, hundreds of people sort of trying to decide the direction of a DAO, which, as we all know, uh, it's cool to say, you're a decentralized community, but it's not cool when, nothing is getting done because of, because there's no one to sort of, there's no one to sort of like lead things or to like be accountable for certain things. When things go wrong, no one is sort of there to take responsibility, or to to say I fucked up, or that sort of thing. It's almost like yeah, we're all like, every work stream, every DAO, every working group is an experiment. If things go well, then hooray. If things don't go well, too bad. But everyone gets paid. There's no accountability, and that's sort of the thing that has made like this whole sustainability conversation come up more and more often. Because when I first started contributing to DAOs, or joining the DAO space, yeah, we didn't have these sort of conversations. It was all like, hey, everybody, come for the bus, come for the free internet money. And it's only when things got tough, a bear market came around, that everyone started asking like, what are we really doing here? Like, how much longer will the treasury last if we keep spending the way we've been spending? So yeah, it's really cool that we can sort of talk about these things right now. And the 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 DAO playbook goes into this. The DAO playbook, is mandatory reading for anyone who's looking to start a DAO, because it'll make you ask yourself some hard questions before you get started.
Yeah, maybe we can do like time travel and just say it's, let's say September 2022. And what did you guys do? And is there anything you would have done different? Chuy, you want to start?
It's a tough question. uh, a lot of stuff, right? Like I think that in the end, all of the projects are learning. Like if there's a project that at this point says, I have the answer, this is the way things should be done. Uh, yeah, they're probably full of shit. I don't think nobody has solved this mystery, and it'll probably take also, you know, years. And I think it's gonna be this phenomenon where the tools are being shaped after these um, ways of looking back and saying like, oh, I wish we had something that could like prevent this scenario, or um, uh, we could have made just better decisions, you know, like when there was money and before the bear market. Like I think that also, you know, like assuming anything as an absolute solution might be also a mistake, um, because yeah, I think that you like you never know. And also at the same time, it's just how can I put it, um, during a bear market, um, it's it's easy at this point where we can see like, okay, things definitely have improved. They are not the same. Probably like a lot of people would agree that we're not in a bear market anymore, but we seem to forget every time, you know, and every cycle that comes around, we seem to forget that it really seems like it's going to be endless. And like the way DAOs plan their things around, it just cuts the turns and becomes a much short term based decisions. So yeah, I think that maybe that could be a way in itself in which the tooling is shaped, you know, between long term decisions and short term decisions. And yeah, maybe that can help also balance the way and the tools that we have at uh, specific moments, um, just to come up with better choices for the community in general. Or if it's not going to be a good choice, um, at least the tool, so that everybody can come together and, you know, like without like putting blames and stuff like that, that um, the community can draw its own like conclusions in a way that um, contains dispute.
60, do you want to respond?
Uh yeah, September 2022, right?
Yes, around there. Happy
Oh yeah.
times.
Very happy time. I wouldn't change much. I wouldn't change anything because you know, uh learning you know, first of all, no regrets, right? Live and we learn. What I would go back and tell everyone in this space is, you know, uh, all these tokens, like, you know, all these tokens are just governance tokens, right? They're like the only utility they have, if you know, if the protocol or if DAO is not centralized somehow, is to participate in governance. And you know, we at the time, I feel like a lot of people treated them like more than that, like almost like shares, I guess, shares or some kind of you know, like we had a lot of tokens that didn't have like people. I feel like there was a lot of euphoria around, you know, like all these DeFi governance tokens, or like all these different tokens that were at the end of the day just governance tokens. And when everybody sort of realized what they were, they just you know, they got rid of them. And So yeah, one thing I would change, like not for myself, but I would sort of try to uh, you know, uh, ask more teams, ask more DAOs, ask more protocols to do it, is like sort of figure out more utility for your token, right? I know now with the legal landscape that has become very difficult with the SEC and the DOJ sort of clamping down on everyone. Like people are more scared than ever to add any sort of utility to their tokens. So we're sort of back to square one, where the problem is there, but we didn't do much to fix it, because as soon as you try to fix it, you're worried about your token being called a security, or being called, like, an unregistered security or whatever. uh and so yeah, I mean, I hope I answered the question, but yeah, I just wanted to, like, as I reflect back on that time, it's like we were so bullish on all these tokens, and we sort of picturing them as something they're not, as something they're not, which is they're not equity, or it gives you a sense of ownership, having a voice in governance decisions, but yeah, that's all the token is. That's all the token is for, and how exactly do you tie financial value to a token that's only used for governance? And at the worst of times, the people in charge of the protocol could just not do what governance requires them to do, especially when it's just a snapshot vote. So yeah.
Yeah, do you think the value of the token has anything to do with the power it actually has in governance?
I would say most people buy tokens expecting more than governance, right? I know there are a few, because the number of holders, if you go on Etherscan or OptiScan, ArbScan, whatever, the number of holders always far outweighs the number of people actually active in governance. I know Arbitrum, as an example, has is one of the more active DAOs when it comes to governance, but most people, most people hold these tokens, or own these tokens for speculative purposes, and that's become super evident in the past 6 months, in the past 5 to 6 months, with the meme coin mania, right? Now we're seeing why people are really here. They just want to buy something and watch it go up in value. And yeah, I'm not sure how we're gonna, I know there's people who genuinely care about governance and like governing the protocol, but we'll have one of the problems we have to sort of solve is how do we separate those, how do we separate those two people who just want to speculate, and the people who want to participate in governance. Yeah, just to make sure expectations are aligned, incentives are also aligned, and yeah, just to make sure decentralized governance is actually a thing that works and not just theater.
Thank you. Yvonne, maybe you can, I'm going to ask you to elaborate on like, so when you look at September 2022, do you have any learnings that you can share with us and, help us out, right? But also elaborating on what 60 just said, like discerning who is making these decisions and who is participating and what that affects, the sustainability, like the like vitality of the DAO.
Um, Well, I would say if I can go back to September 2022, I would spend less time in forums and Discord for sure. Because the politics is quite essentially the worst part of DAOs. And in terms of decision making, I think there is a very tight balance, and that is not being solved. You know, on one hand, you don't want plutocracy. On the other hand, you want people that make decisions to have skin in the game. And I ultimately believe that decisions should be made by people with skin in the game. How you measure that, and whether that should be liquid or not, and like all of that is a different discussion. But maybe I'm a bit primed by the side conversation we're having in the chat box of who makes decisions and how are decisions made. It's essential to remember that this is one of the most financially ruthless industries that we're operating in, right? It's a very, very competitive industry. And it's about facing trade-offs, right? And later in the life cycle of your organization, if you are successful, if you reach the level of, I don't know, Optimism, Arbitrum, Maker, Lido, like a project of that caliber, where you are in charge of, in essence, billions of dollars of other people's money, it is important to have like slow and deliberate process. My understanding is that like a lot of the audience here are people that are starting organizations, and at that point in time, you do not need any of that. At that point in time, you need speed of execution, and getting to speed of execution means you are gonna not let everyone make decisions. You're not gonna listen to everyone. You would like find a few determined individuals that the rest of the organization will shape around. And then, you know, as you grow in impact, right, as there are more and more stakeholders that are dependent on your product or platform or whatever you're building, right, then you would have to start like providing them with decision making power, because ultimately there is this concept of voice, loyalty, and exit. And if you don't provide voice, the only way people can you know express their dissatisfaction with whatever you're providing them with is by leaving. And ultimately, if those are people that are contributing towards what you're building, you don't want them to go. So yeah, I would say key learnings are: look at hard power, who's actually able to do things, and over-index on execution over deliberation. Unless you're at the size of Maker, right? Like, and even then, it's questionable. But like unless you get to that size, it's you know, leverage the technology, build things that people want and use, and don't worry too much about the distribution. Worry more about, you know, like capture resistance, and is this really trustless? And if somebody's going to use my protocol, do they have clarity over how it evolves over time? Like some of the stuff that we're building at the moment ties into, you know, like yield optimizing pools, right, where there is a manager, and then the depositors in that pool, like there is no token, right? Like there is a manager that manages assets inside of a vault, right? And then the depositors have very limited power over what happens. They have only veto, right? Only if the manager is doing something dangerous, we can stop and exit before this gets implemented. So it's sort of like, okay, like what's the minimum amount of distributed decision making I need to make this a viable product that progresses and improves over time, as opposed to, you know, just sit in a fireside chat and discuss endlessly like which way should we go.
That made me laugh because I'm imagining all the philosophy conversations and the government's, yeah. Chuy, do you want to elaborate maybe on, you know, what Ivan was saying, especially around discerning, you know, who has decision-making power, who is participating?
Yeah, I think that could be a little bit tricky, because imagine that everything goes okay. Imagine that everything goes right, and uh, you centralize decision making in just a few people for the sake of efficiency, and then things start going well, and then I feel that you create this relationship with community members where where they become more of stockholders, as you were saying, and they are stockholders, right? But if it were the same, and we couldn't, like, bring in a lot of other stuff to the table, I feel that it's not the best dynamic, not the best relationship that you would like to build with your community on the longer term, because you want people to get involved. And I think that even like outside of this ecosystem, outside of the technology, I feel that there are a few examples of communities that are already applying this kind of culture to their decision making processes. And I think that that's where it becomes very interesting to this space, because if we adapt uh, these products and these tools to something that is culturally working already, instead of like trying to start from expectations of decision making by trusted people, I think it's just healthier for a community in the longer term. And an example of this is, I'm very, very passionate about what project management for cultural communities is going to evolve. I think that uh, in music business, in film business, like in different cultural activities that sadly have fallen into centralized forms of industries, especially the entertainment industry, I think that it's just going to be a game changer. Um, not not only because you're going to be turning um, fans and followers into stockholders, but also because you're going to be bringing into the mix stuff that I think that it's been left out, like, like sense of belonging, curation. I think that there are a few things out there that have failed to be brought into the scope of tokenization. Um, Going back to what 60 was commenting on this. So I think that we still have to see um, the full effects of I think, as I think Humberto was mentioning in the comments, of the difference between the decision making progress and the feedback, and just the relationship that a good balance between those can create.
And yeah, I know time is almost up, so I'll just add my final thoughts on the topic. And I love what Ivan said about he wishes he didn't spend so much time on forums and Discord. And yeah, a lot of people have that sort of sentiment. One thing, and this is just pure observation, like developers, devs, software engineers, they could care less about governance. They don't have time to, go on the forum, go on Discord, listen to what everybody is like sort of discussing. They just want to build, and we've had usually whenever you try to sort of involve developers in the governance sort of process in DAOs, they usually get burned out because yeah, it's a lot of back and forth, and they just want to sort of do what they love, which is building new stuff. So yeah, we come back to the to the main to the question of uh, you're building something cool. People want to sort of contribute their thoughts, contribute ideas. How do you balance it all out, right? In Web 2, we have some really great CEOs. We've seen some really great CEOs sort of make or break different companies. Like a good CEO will do a lot for a company, and we sort of need that type of model in Web3 where we have where we can identify good leaders who like to lead, right? Because yeah, developers, builders, that's not always their thing. Some developers, are not great at public speaking. They're not great at like motivating people to like do certain things, or like they just want to sort of focus on what they do best. And that's where sort of like that's why we need good leaders in governance. But yeah, the problem of centralization comes back in, and yeah, the council model is one that I'm a big fan of. Like, you don't get rid of the CEO exactly, but you decentralize that role just a bit more. You decentralize that role. You give it to like 5 people with different levels of expertise in different fields, and it can be 5 people, it can be 10 people, depending on how fast or slow you want things to get done. But at least it decentralizes the decision making process just a bit more. Uh, just not 10 people. But yeah, it decentralizes the decision making process a bit more, and the goal I think we all want to get to is where decisions can be made quickly, but the community also feels heard. Uh, So yeah, we won't figure it out overnight, but we'll make progress. Maybe tomorrow, Ivan, we'll come up with something really cool, or Chuy might come up with a really cool sort of structure. A DAO, because a DAO essentially is not a structure. It's just a decentralized autonomous organization, and there's different flavors of that, and there's yeah, each DAO has to figure out sort of their own flavor of how they decentralize, how they deal with autonomy, and how they organize to make sure they achieve their goals with minimal friction with minimal friction and with great efficiency. So I guess it's not a one size fits all type of thing. It's yeah, we'll all have to come up with different structures for unique scenarios with for unique DAOs that that work for that particular DAO or that particular protocol.
Well, okay, yes. Well, I think we'll each take 1 minute because apparently I didn't ask the right questions. So everyone each has 1 minute to actually talk about, what was the topic? Sustainability and gathering feedback. Okay, go ahead, Yvonne.
So, again, not going with community because that's too broad for me. So you have 3 people you need to take feedback from. People, the person that's helping you build whatever you're building, the person who's helping you sell whatever you're building, and the person who's using whatever you're building. Those are the only 3 personas, and that's that you should be listening to early on. Ideally, if you're so fortunate, you wouldn't have a token, so you wouldn't have token holders to listen to, because that creates a whole set of other implications. But yeah, those are the 3 sources of productive input, and find someone who wants to pay for what you're building. There is my favorite phrase, and now we've gotten out of the public goods meme a bit, but most of the things that got branded public goods last time around were neither good nor there was a public they were serving. So find a user that uses what you're doing, what you're building, and is getting obsessed with using whatever you're building, and just listen to them and build for them, and then expand from there and generalize from there.
Chuy, do you want to go next? Just 1 minute on gathering feedback and sustainability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, well, it's been it's been an interesting talk, and even though we got like sidetracked on some of the topics, yeah, I think that it's it's we're still like in the end in like an exploration phase, um, and I think that um, uh, sorry, I got a little bit distracted, but um, uh, yeah, sorry, I think I need to take care of something. I'll be right back. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. 60, you want to
And
close us out?
yeah, I will wrap up. In terms of sustainability, it's broad. It depends what your goal is. Some DAOs are not meant to last forever. If you are planning to last forever, build something immutable. Product market fit. I agree with Ivan. Product market fit. Build something people want. People want to use. Unfortunately, people don't always want to pay. So, what's worked in Web2 is make it free until people get so addicted to it that, you slowly start making them pay for it and they don't mind. So I don't know if that can work in crypto, but freemium seems to be like the motto of the day. But yeah, product market fit. Yeah, financial sustainability is it's a long and complex topic, which we did get sidetracked on, and but I agree with Ivan in terms of building people want, and gathering feedback is it's a tricky process, because some people are petty. They like to complain. They like to just bash things for no reason. So find out who your loyalists are, find out who the people who have been with you from the start are, and sort of build like a close relationship with them, and build a close relationship with them, and use them to inform your strategy, because they're the people who have been with you from the start, who want to see you succeed, who use your product. So yeah, just learn how to filter out the signal from the noise, is what.
Great. Thank you, everybody.